Previously on Break the Cycles. We made it to Ushuaia and then headed back north after seeing some penguins in Punta Tumbo. Had some Argentinian BBQ. We finally arrived in Buenos Aires. We visited the city for a few days and then air freight my bike back to Maryland and I flew back home. I think adjusting back to normal life has got to be the most difficult part about returning to civilization. I mean, this was really tough. And since this was the first time I had traveled for such an extended period of time, the acclimatization it took a long time. I had to jump through so many hoops to import the full track in Garmin. The track was just way too large. It was so many data points, and it just would not want to export. Either way, the total days of the trip came out to about 260. The mileage is just a little over 32,000 miles. Now, as far as accommodation, I stayed in a hotel for a total of 5 nights, 56 days at a hostel, which is going to be around like $10 to $15 at the time. And couch surfing is about 81 days. It's not entirely free because I always buy the host dinner or do something for the host. There is also camping, which is mostly free, but not always. Some of the campsites with services are usually around $10 to $15 as well. And finally, friends and family, this one is usually free. As you can have guessed, lodging usually is the most expensive thing on any trip. So if you can control your lodging cost, you're in good shape. After a few days, I picked up my motorcycle at the BWI airport. You basically just back it up to the loading dock, and they have another like adjustable ramp that lowers the height to the bed. So they put the bike onto the ramp and then they lowered it, and then you basically just rolled it in. This might be the easiest loading I've ever done. Now, when I got home, I did not have a ramp at home, so I ended up improvising, putting cinder blocks. It was very sketchy trying to unload this, but I didn't drop it. Everything was fine. After about a week, I started assessing the condition of the bike, and I'll do some other videos of a more detailed rebuild of different parts later. But obviously, I had to replace the swing arm. I bought one off eBay. There was no issue. You polish it, put it back on. The most shocking discovery was when I took the swing arm off. I had to take the shock off because the shock is attached to the swing arm, right? So when I tried to take the top bolt off the frame, I found that the bolt holding the shock to the frame was sheared off. Like it snapped off. The bolt was not even bolted on. It was just not there. Now, I would venture to guess it probably snapped when I crashed and then I cartwheeled the bike in Alaska. There was a lot of impact, so I will venture to guess that's probably what broke it, which means I basically rode the whole entire trip with a broken bolt holding the shock and holding the whole back of the bike up. Yeah. The good news was the electronics I built for the bike, they were in top shape. Everything's working 100%, and even now it still works. I also bought a new frame, also off of eBay. Turns out the frame was also bent. Now, this frame I found was bent after I put everything on it and realized that the steering head was actually twisted. So technically, it got in a much, much worse accident, and the whole thing is just twisted in the front. The good thing is, it's twisted in the front and not the back. And mine twisted in the back, not the front. So my neighbor Noah gave me the great idea to keep my original frame so I can keep the VIN number, and then refinished it and combined the two frame into one, and he helped me weld it together, and this way I get to keep my original VIN on the frame. Right. A few months later, one of the main bearings in the engine started to make a whining noise. And I attributed this, and I realized this probably on the trip as well. There was a lot of places I could not get oil very easily, and I couldn't change the oil. And I've ridden on old oil as well as like really dirty oil for a very long time, like oil that's been cooked for a very long time. And of course, over time, it destroyed the bearing, and I had to rebuild it completely. Now, as far as engine rebuild is concerned, it really doesn't get easier than a DR650. Single cylinder, a few bearings, and if your running gear is good, you literally just slap it back together after you split the case, heat it up, take all the bearings out, put the bearings back in, and bam. And you do that for probably less than $500 in parts. Of course, you need to have the skill at rebuilding it, and you also need to have all the tools, and you probably need to have a good relationship with the machine shop, which we do. But cost wise and simplicity wise, this was probably the easiest engine I have ever built. Thank you for tuning in on my documentary of this trip. Stay tuned because I will be posting tutorials, other adventures, and also new project builds.